On the other end, you have the 20% who really aren't charitable. And then in the middle, you have 60% who are charitably receptive. So 80% of Americans are charitably receptive. And these advisors don't know what they're talking about because they're afraid to have the conversation and lose assets under management. Y'all got that? We got to encourage them and push them along. It's also interesting to note that according to Plan Giving today, 78% of people who make life income gifts do so by the prompting of their advisor. So as Plan Giving specialists, we really have to be in close with those advisors. They play a key role to our success. And the one thing you have to keep in mind about advisors, where we are all about philanthropy and giving and we focus on it day in and day out, when advisors went to get their certification, whatever that is, Series 7, CFP, estate planning attorney, CPA, philanthropy may have been a paragraph in a chapter in a book in one course of their whole program. So philanthropy to them is it's not even on their radar screen. So we want to make sure we keep it on their radar screen. And advisors, you should know, are great at asking questions. Do you ever see an intake form for a financial advisor? Pages, right? Pages. What do you earn? Where are your assets? How many houses do you have? What are your personal goals? What's your income? Tell me about your family. Are you going to be receiving an inheritance? How's your health? What type of lifestyle do you want in the future? Any kids going to college? The list goes on and on and on. I've seen questionnaires for clients, new intakes forms that are 50 pages long. I'm sorry, who the heck is going to fill that out? And a lot of it might just be the advisor asking questions and taking notes and backfilling it. But guess how many, in all those forms, guess how many questions they typically have about philanthropy on that form? Any guesses?
0 to 1.
0 to 1.
One question. Do you know what that question is?
Yes or no?
Do you give to
It
charity?
is a yes or no question.
Is it, do you give to charity?
Not do you give to charity. Are you philanthropic? Are you philanthropic? Charity begins at home. Now, we all know better than that. You don't ask yes/no questions. How do you get to know what someone cares about, what their values are, and pass that on? Philanthropy is just not a yes/no question. And what we hear from the U.S. Trust study is how much clients really want advisors to engage them. So, you know, I have one kind of page here about conversations, and one thing I want you to know is you can encourage advisors to encourage their clients to give. Because you just open the door. Hey, many of our clients like you give to charity. Oh, really? Other people are doing it too? You mean I can do it? It's just that opening line, and then you have to give them some questions to ask to really pull in what those deeper conversations are. And I'm sure Rebecca gave you a bunch of them. But when they're looking to raise resilient kids who are financially savvy, we need to know what values they're passing down. The advisor needs to know that. So all of these are really important and great questions. How do you want to be remembered? How would you like to honor your mother? These are great, thoughtful questions. A lot of times, the clients don't have answers to these right away, and that's okay. The advisor has to just learn to start asking those questions to deepen that relationship so they can engage the next generation. Now I'm going to share with you a couple of great opportunities for advisors. Well, some are great, some aren't so great. In this example, Chloe is a LOL. Does anyone know what LOL stands for?
Laugh out loud.
Yes, little old lady. Thank you, Jennifer.
I worked retail too long.
Yeah, well, you know, 20 years ago, 30 years ago in the trust world, LOL meant little old lady long before it meant laugh out loud, for those of you who said laugh out loud. Chloe is widowed, she has her kids around, she doesn't have a ton of money, but she has a good advisor, and you know, he's encouraging her along the way. Every year she gives $100 to the dogs or the animals. She has a little miniature schnauzer who snuggles with her all the time, and it's all about her pet. But, you know, she's worried about her kids. She can't make a huge legacy gift to the animals because she has her kids to worry about. Well, here's a real simple thing that I'm sure most of you know. If you take that annual gift and times it by 20, you come up with $2,000. And if that is managed properly in an endowment, a 5% payout rate will pay that $100 in perpetuity. So Chloe, that little old lady, can make a specific bequest to whatever nonprofit she wants, and she has now endowed her gift. Now, for advisors, obviously, this is a zero asset retention strategy. So why am I sharing this with you? Why am I sharing this with you, Adam?
Because it's the title of the session.
Because there's a lot of goodwill built into this relationship. The advisor becomes trusted, right? It's not all about his assets. He's helping her make a gift she never imagined she could do. It's really goodwill for the company, right? She'll go around bragging to, like, oh, my advisor helped me make this gift I never imagined. He's so good to me. Can you picture Chloe? He's so good to me. I'm picturing her as a little old Jewish lady. He's so good to me. You should use him too. It also gives Chloe an opportunity to get recognized in the community in a way she never imagined. And her kids are really happy because $2,000 is not going to make or break their situation. You with me? 0% asset retention strategy. Let's look at the next one. We have Barry and Beth, and they have property worth $1 million. And we're just going to simplify it. This is the only asset they have. They have 3 kids. They both had food insecurities as young individuals, and they donate and they work a lot for the food bank. And this is the one thing they really want to support, but they want to take care of their kids too. So what they decided to do is give 5% of the real estate to the charity, and the rest was going to go to their kids. Now, they had been working with an advisor on another account that they have. So this is just the real estate that we're looking at. The 3 heirs receive about $316,000 each. They make a gift of $50,000. And this is really good for the community and the food bank. They can retain anywhere from 32 to 95% of the assets. And it's not even an asset retention. This is actually new assets under management. Because before it was a house, and now it's marketable securities. Keep in mind that most wealth is not held in marketable securities. Important factor there. What else happens here? Acknowledged in the community, goodwill for the company, trusted advisor. Help make that dream gift come true. Yes, Nate?
With this one here, could Barry and Beth have given the charity 5% of like the deed of the property and then have sold it, naming their children? Or was this just like they sold it and then made the gifts to their kids?
They did deed that 5% to the charity,
Okay.
and then it was sold. So they did avoid any gains on that.
Yeah.
Good question.
So it was in a trust then? Is that what they did?
They
I mean, would they have that, or would it be?
They just deeded 5% of the property to the charity.
Okay.
And the charity was agreeable to take a portion because there was a general agreement that they were going to sell it. Any other questions? Well, if they didn't, it would depend on where the kids would want to put the money, but yeah, this is a way to convert an asset that wasn't even marketable into a portfolio. So real estate is a great gift for charity, for advisors, to bring other, not just real estate, but business interests and other non-cash and marketable securities. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to Fred Fields really quickly. Fred Fields, specific bequest to Lewis and Clark College, OMSI, OHSU, the Historic Society, Art Museum, Maritime Museum, and this was a missed opportunity because none of the advisors were there saying, hey, why don't you create a private foundation or do it this way where we can still manage the assets? So good thing to keep in mind. Beneficiary designations is another easy way for advisors to retain assets under management. So in this case, we have Jordan and Margaret, and they saved their butts off their whole life, a lot in retirement accounts. They were doctors, and it was very easy to put a lot of money into the retirement accounts, and they have one son who they adore, and they all get along famously. But their son didn't need all the money. He was successful, so they were at this thing, like, what do we do? We want to make a difference in the world, and we also want to take care of our son. So the way they set it up is 50% of the retirement account went to the son through a beneficiary designation, and the other 50% went into a donor-advised fund for their son to start making grants from. And the advisor here was able to retain both. It's a 50 to 100% if he gets the son's assets from that retirement account and also sets it up to manage the foundation or donor advised fund. My notes are good. He creates a foundation. My notes say that, sorry. So right now, this engages the next generation, builds goodwill in the community, and it's a win-win-win for the advisor. You all following me?
Yes.
If they decided to give the other half to their grandchildren to set a trust account, charitable trust account, for their grandchildren, would that be also beneficial to the advisor?
Well, it could be. I mean, you could set up the charitable trust that the advisor still manages those assets. And that's actually in my next example, where it's put in the charitable trust. So good question. Any other questions in the back of the room? Okay. Next you have Karen. Karen donates 50% of a piece of real estate. There's a typo. Oops. We're jumping ahead here. Not sure why, I thought I took all those out. The portion of real estate equals, so the property was worth 10, it's not gonna stay there for me, is it? The property was worth $10 million. 50% goes into a charitable trust for her, and she's just going to get a great tax deduction from that piece of about $2.6 million, and her annual distribution is going to be $250,000. The other $5 million she has to pay her capital gains on, but once again, that advisor has increased his assets under management. He wasn't managing that real estate before. Now he has new assets to manage. It's really kind of simple when you think about it, but advisors are really clueless as to how to have those conversations and how, by incorporating philanthropy, it truly is a way to retain assets. And really, I'm not talking about the charitable assets here. I'm talking about the intergenerational wealth transfer that we are experiencing currently as the greatest generation and baby boomers pass away.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So if the son, who has the foundation, who he operates, uses the funds to travel expensive and like, so it's really the cost, so the money is under a title called philanthropy, but he's not really doing philanthropic work enough of it. Is there any mechanism to reveal that?
Well, sure, with any foundation, they have operating guidelines and governance and a board to oversee all that. That's not to say that, I think I've heard a lot with athletes, they'll create these foundations and then put their sibling or a friend in charge, receiving ridiculous income and doing nothing. So that there's certainly a possibility that that could happen. In that situation, the son was a very generous and loving person and did the right thing. But there is always that, and there are IRS regulations around payouts. Private foundations are required to pay out 5% annually. Donor advised funds are not. On average, donor advised funds are paying out about 7%. Question?
Regarding the DAFs, I don't think I've ever seen a DAF gift for more than 5,000 or so. They're usually very small, and so I just wonder if advisors are encouraging their clients to make these small gifts, or if the DAF is really our best compromise when it comes to letting them retain the assets while still allowing the donor to be charitable. But I was just wondering if you had any ideas about, if someone really wants to make a difference and make an impact, then why wouldn't they give $100,000 to charity versus keeping it in a fund in perpetuity,
That's a great question. And having worked with, hundreds, probably thousands of donors over the years, having worked with many board members over the years, that's a really personal decision. What I found at the Community Foundation is people would set up a combination of both, where they might do a large outright gift when they first pass away and then create that legacy gift to engage their children, because they want their children to have values and learn to be financially resilient. So it's kind of the best of both worlds to do a little, it's never an either or. You can be flexible.
Well, it's also like you're saying you can endow your annual gift, and a lot of people like DAS for that.
Yeah, or donor designated funds where there's not the, yes.
So what would be some tips or suggestions to either, as fundraisers, get in front of advisors or empower donors with information to go back to their advisors related to being more charitable?
Okay, repeat that again.
Just some ways as fundraisers to take this information, either to get ourselves in front of advisors or to have discussions with donors to then take to their advisors.
Yeah, and again, I point back to that U.S. Trust study. It's a great thing to hand advisors. Hey, you got to be doing this. If you're not talking to your clients about philanthropy, some other advisor is. It's also great to help ask for an introduction to the advisor so they get to know you and your organization. We're a relationship-based, field. It's all about how we feel, how our donors feel, how they're included. So getting to know that advisor is critical, because they'll see, what are the 3 things in the fundraising process? What's in it for the donor? Do they know, like, and trust your organization, and are they ready to give? So you need to provide that same information to the advisor. What's in it for the advisor? They're going to get a happy client, they're going to get a tax deduction, they're going to create a legacy. Do they know, like, and trust your organization? That's where our financials come into play, and people look at their financials and do the due diligence. Is your nonprofit fiscally sound? Let me finish here. So as you build a relationship with them, invite them to events, maybe ask them to participate on your finance committee, something like that, they get to know, like, and trust you. And then for the last one, you know, are they ready to give? If you don't ask, the answer is always no. So you have to be willing to ask, and it's a metrics game.
So in the case of Fred Fields, his name,
Mm-hmm.
did he go against his financial advisors by donating to the Oregon Community Foundation?
You know, the Oregon Community Foundation had no knowledge at all of the gift. And the only people who knew were really his attorney, and everyone was kind of surprised to see who got specific bequests and where the residual went. So it would have been nice to know that we were getting 160 million at the time.
Did he was there a message that, like, or a goal that
Yes.
attached to the money? What was that?
It was a simple one line: for arts and education in Oregon. So very broad and general. And Jackie from the OCF can tell you what they're doing with that now after the presentation if you want. Any other questions right now? Okay. Well, in front of you on your tables, there's 2 cards. One is an announcement for my book, Give to Live, Make a Charitable Gift You Never Imagined, is coming out in November. And the other card on your table really ranks me in terms of how this presentation was and what you thought. The other great thing about this small card in front of you, if you fill it out with your name and email, I am going to draw at the end of this presentation 3 names for a free autographed copy of the book. So everyone find your little card. Let me know if you need one. There's extras around. Yeah. Yes, they'll be available in November. Does anyone need a card to fill out? You need one?
No, I have a question.
Yeah.
Can you walk us through some examples of conversations you've had where you've actually asked the donor for an introduction to their financial advisor?
Yeah, that's a really great question. How do you kind of ask for an introduction to the person's money manager? And, you know, I hate to use sports analogies in football, but when you have that individual and they have a lot of advisors around them, the one thing that lacks is someone to kind of bring them all together. So one great way to help your client is to ask to have their advisors come in to meet with you. Now the chances of that happening are really slim to none, right? Come, bring your advisor, I want to meet them. But in turn, because that doesn't happen, they lay it up, oh yeah, I'll invite my advisor. Oh, my advisor doesn't want to come. But there's that laid out invitation of meeting, and a lot of times after that, an advisor will call to have you in. That was my personal experience. I'm happy to go meet them and share with them the wonderful benefits of my organization and what we can do, and see what they need to know. I'm happy to provide our financials, our due diligence, and show them that we are a solid organization and this should be a really great gift. Does that help? Great. When you're done filling out your cards, pull them into the center, and then I'm going to ask that, oh, Patricia, do you want to help out and come down and collect all the little postcards?
I'd love to.
Thank you, Patricia. I figured you were in the back, so if everyone could pass their cards into the center with any comments. If you want to write comments on the back that I can use regarding my presentation, any way I can improve, testimonials, thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. Other than that, pass them into the center, and as Patricia walks down, and then I'll make...
It's like no day.
And while we're doing that, I'll just tell you a little bit about the book. The book is geared towards givers and their advisors. This is a great tool for you as plan giving people. The book starts off, we talk about the science of giving, the reasons why people give. So you're going to have to pick one of these. Yeah, I'm going to let you pick one. Yeah. Oh, look. Someone wants to win. They bent it. That's a trick I do. That's yours? So, you can pick your own card. Just pick one. So it starts off talking about the science of giving and providing happiness, and it breaks down charitable trust, gifts, annuities. Sharon Bosserman Benson with free autograph copy. Woohoo! Sharon, why don't you come up and draw the next one? Then it breaks down charitable gift annuities, charitable remainder trust, bequests, specific, all the types of bequests into understandable terms. It tells them how to make that endowed gift of $2,000. Things people really need to know. And then at the end, it sends them back to their advisor to implement it. I'm picking, and the next winner is Lauren. Woo! Okay, Lauren, you come up and pick the next one. And our last winner is, I'm a minute over. You pick it. You got one. Who is it? Jackie Roth. Wow, everyone I know. I guess I don't have to. Anyway, I'm available for any questions. I hope this has been beneficial to you, and enjoy the rest of your day.